They played two, and the Pittsburgh Pirates split a doubleheader with the Detroit Tigers. Those two seven-inning doubleheaders. One nice thing I actually enjoy about some new rules as they mix those in now after the game just last night was postponed. So the Pirates now move to 8-10 on the year, winning game two, which we will mostly focus on this doubleheader, or winning game one and then losing game two 5-2, winning game one 3-2, and losing game two to the Tigers 5-2. This is, of course, a Pirates edition of Pittsburgh Postgame here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. I'm your host, Mike Asti, and I will enter my personal Waterloo for this edition of the show, as Michael Waterloo will join me. You cannot call me Napoleon. You can call me Mike, though, as I will bring Michael Waterloo on the program to talk about these two games, kind of the Pirates overall, how they work the lineup in these two games, and a surprising new start that we were able to experience in game two of this doubleheader. So first off, Michael, I definitely appreciate you joining me. I know we've been around these same parts and had some colleagues that are familiar for many years, but haven't been able to do something together. So I'm happy we're getting to do this. I'm happy that got you on the program. So I definitely appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on here, Mike. And I'll tell you what, like you said, those 7 inning double headers at first, when they introduced them last year, I'm like,
Yeah.
Traditionalist, baseball's 9 innings,
Right.
but I'm watching them like, this is nice. This is nice. We got a game in at 2 hours. This is really, really nice. But yeah.
Yeah, not only that, but a game that's starting at 6:40. I mean, we are on right now before 9 p.m. And again, when it's the Pittsburgh Pirates, that's never guaranteed because they like to have the journey games. They're looking for the overall hour record of this season that they're looking to get right now, and they're on pace for. But I'm a fan of the 6:40 start time, still before 7 o'clock. I'm a fan of 7 inning doubleheaders. There's some other rules I'm not as excited about. I still can't get myself to love putting a runner on second base for extras. Maybe I'm too over traditionals there. I feel like you're giving the run away too much. So I can't jump on board there. And maybe it's just doing these post-game shows. But I am ready for 6:40 starts. I am ready for 7 inning doubleheaders. The game snuck up on me almost, to be honest with you. But as I said, the Pirates split this doubleheader. They win game one 3-2. Tyler Anderson with the victory. He went 5 with 7 Ks and a stellar start yet again. Him and JD Brubaker putting up solid starts for a mediocre rotation overall. They got the win. They lose game two, though, 5-2. And Michael, I will start us with this. Miguel Yajure started in this game too. Normally a Mitch Keller start. We were kind of excited to maybe be talking about Mitch Keller, but we already see some tinkering with this rotation that some were resistant of. We see Yajure go 4 innings, 4 runs, 4 hits, 2 walks, 4 Ks. To be completely honest, there have been some Pirate starters this year that have put up a lot worse in 4 innings. What did you see from him? And do you like the decision to throw him a bone and throw him a start and already tinker with this rotation early in the season?
Yeah, this is the classic case of you can't really scout a box score and kind of know how the player truly did, because he performed a lot better than his final surface numbers there. And honestly, I thought this was the perfect spot for him. You're going in the back end of a doubleheader. It's a 7 inning game. You're facing a Tigers lineup that doesn't really scare you too much. They have a few pieces in there. And my favorite part about it is he's making his first big league start. And typically with young pitchers, you see them really hyped in that first inning, that adrenaline pumping. But then you kind of see the third time through the order is when they really, really start to struggle. With him starting in this doubleheader, there was an unlikely chance he was going to have to face that order for the third time through. So I thought it was a really, really smart call. If you're going to kind of have somebody make a spot start, I thought this was the right spot for him. And Mike, he really, really impressed me. His sequencing of his pitches was just fantastic. That drop on the curveball just kind of left me in awe, especially when he's starting out hitters with it. It just kind of drops out of the zone. And his CSW was 32. And for those of you who don't know, that is a near elite number. That's Max Scherzer number. That's Yu Darvish, Dylan Bundy, Trevor Bauer number for CSW. So he really, really kind of impressed me. He made a few mistakes. He left that fastball sitting right in the middle of the zone that Nico Goodrum parked out in left field. He left the fastball up to Jonathan Scope, who he's a fastball hitter. And those were the two really, really big mistakes. And then, you had that awful defense by, as everybody's known for the past 7-8 years, Gregory Polanco. No big surprise there.
Right.
A ground ball double that somehow scored a runner from first base and let Akil Baddoo, who was 0 for 15 before that at bat, get into second base still. So that went as poorly as it could, but overall, I was really, really impressed with him, and I hope he gets another turn in the rotation.
I would say he's definitely earned another turn in the rotation. And again, we've seen worse starts from Pirate pitchers that have been around a lot longer. Cough Trevor Cahill this year. So why not throw a young kid a bone? Let him go 4. I think also it's important to note these are 7-inning games in this doubleheader. He's going 4 in a 7-inning game. Maybe he would have went an inning or so longer if it was a 9-inning game. Maybe you would have had a different strategy with him if it was a 9-inning game. He did not win this game, of course. Neither did the team. But 4 innings for this Pirate rotation is on the deeper side. I mean, that might sound ridiculous, but the bullpens had to come into games in the 3rd, in the 2nd, in the 4th inning this year. And the bullpen's actually been okay in that role this year. While it's kind of unreasonable to ask them to do all that. But he goes 4 runs of 4 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Having more strikeouts than walks is certainly a good thing, just simply. So I do think he was able to get around some batters and had some deep pitch counts and was able to have a solid outing here. Again, his first start, I don't feel Mitch Keller would have put up a better effort. I guess I will ask you too here, speaking with Michael Waterloo here on the Pirates edition of Pittsburgh Postgame. First off, subscribe, hit that subscribe button if you like what you see and hear here. Pirates now 8-10 on the year, losing game 2 of this doubleheader 5-2 and winning game 1 3-2. But Michael, what would you do with Mitch Keller moving forward? I guess that's the question now. You're moving starts. You're throwing young kids in for his start. Let's bear in mind Mitch Keller is not the oldest man in the world. It's not like he has tons of experience either. 2 years ago was rough. Last year was actually okay when he was in there. I think people forget that, the ERA being under 3. This year, though, has been horrendous. What do you do with him moving forward, especially now after this decision was made? Do you give him bullpen appearances? Do you give him other starts? Do you sit him down? Do you talk to him? Do you put your arm around the kid? What's your plan now with Mitch Keller moving forward?
His last start out, there was that shot that it looked like he was down 5-0 in the game. It was before the very first pitch of the game, and he just looked scared, no confidence on the mound and bewildered. And that's not what you want to see. I mean, he had a good start 2 starts ago, but besides that, I feel like we just keep looking for any reason to kind of defend Mitch Keller and make an excuse for him. 2 years ago, he was one of the unluckiest players in all of baseball with his advanced metrics compared to his surface numbers there. I think the front office is going to keep, putting him in the rotation. I think you have to keep letting him make starts, if not for the simple fact that you've seen what happens when pitchers leave Pittsburgh. There's a track record of that.
The fear of it, yeah.
The fear. Joe Musgrove has just been the world's best pitcher after seeing what happened with Tyler Glasnow when they took him out of the rotation and they made him a long man. Right. Granted, it is a new front office. It is a new coaching staff, 100%. But that is in the mind of Pittsburgh's fans, and that's in the mind of Bob Nutting too, for as much as he pays attention to the team. Like, you have to wonder, hey, we can't show that we're giving up on this kid, because as soon as we trade him, we know what's going to happen. We know at least what the fans are going to say. That
I'm sure the fans are thinking that, yeah.
Oh, 100%. You're going to say, hey, Garrett Cole, Charlie Morton, Jameson Taillon, Joe Musgrove, Tyler Glasnow, Shane Baz in a couple years. Who knows what happens to Chris Archer if he can get healthy. But for that reason alone, I think you're just going to see him continue in the rotation. Maybe they go 6-man for a little bit, or maybe they just don't put a Trevor Cahill in the rotation every 5th day, because as bad as Mitch Keller is, I would put money on him any day of the week over Trevor Cahill. We know what he is at this point. He's a vet who's holding on for life with a decent curveball. But Yeah, I think they keep him in. I honestly think that they give him a few more turns in the rotation. You have minor league ball starting soon. If they need to, they can send him down there to get some work. But I don't think extended spring training is going to do anything. I don't think putting him in the bullpen is going to do anything for his confidence. I think you have to give him a few starts at least until AAA starts, and then you can send him there.
Okay. Patrick, I do see you in the chat as we're getting a couple of chatters here. Ohio State Picture saying he loves the Pittsburgh team, so that's interesting. I guess that's possible. But Michael Waterloo here, Mike Asti on the Pirates edition of Pittsburgh Postgame. Pirates splitting a doubleheader with the Detroit Tigers after a game being postponed. They played these two 7-inning games, winning game 1 3-2 thanks to Tyler Anderson, going 5 out of 7 is pretty deep, by the way, and then losing game 2 5-2. Michael Yajure losing that game, but pitching pretty admirably. 4 innings, 4 runs, 4 hits, 2 walks, 4 Ks again. And Mitch Keller, to me, of course, you can't get away from the fear factor. I don't know if Ben Cherington's going to steal a phrase from Mike Tomlin, who I cover, I don't know if Ben Cherington's going to live in his fears. But that is really where fans are going to go, because the list could go on and on. I mean, I could name 6 others that you just named. And yeah, it's a bad list right now. Chris Archer, probably the only example of a pitcher being better prior to the Pirates and then not being better after. And we'll see when he gets healthy. So yeah, that's a fear out there, especially because Miss Keller has always been that guy, that the talent has been there. You feel like the stuff is there. He has shown spotty appearances of being solid. He does fit the bill, basically, of if he gets his head right, maybe, or fixes one little mechanic, he could go from average to, oh man, wow. He kind of fits that bill. So I'm sure there's a fear factor there. The interesting part about Trevor Cahill, though, if you bump him out of the rotation, if you're going to take him out of the rotation, for me, I don't know if there's a point of him on the squad at all. Because the only reason why he's there really is a veteran to try to beef up the value and maybe trade and bring something in on a ceiling. If he's not even starting, then I don't know if there's really a point of giving him an inning every couple days out of the bullpen, unless Howard just wants a day off. Because Howard is maybe the only guy in Pittsburgh that works more than our Alan Saunders, but although not in this doubleheader. But yeah, so that might be the only thing that maybe if you just want to bounce Trevor Cahill altogether after seeing a few more starts. I'm sure Mitch Keller is going to keep getting starts. I'd imagine they're not going to act with the knee-jerk reaction of, oh man, Garrett Cole, oh man, Tyler Glass now, so we want to freak out. But that may creep into even Ben Cherington's head, even though he didn't have anything to do with those previous regimes, just knowing that's going to be the perception of what could occur. And maybe Mitch Keller will pitch out of it, but I think the concern is I'm seeing what you're seeing. He looks like a deer in headlights, and that might not be the most analytical answer, and you're an analytical guy usually with the analysis, but that's just true. That's just out there. I feel like that's almost one of the few unanimous opinions everyone out there is seeing, that this doesn't look good before we even get to the appearance.
Yeah, it doesn't. And if you want to go the analytical route, you can try to look at the changes that he's made from 2019 to 2020 to 2021. Guess what? Spin rate on his pitches, same across the board. Velocity, same across the board. Pitch usage, a little bit increase with the slider, but not really. Fastball still the same. There's just not a lot there whenever you kind of look underneath the hood at him. But to your point, he's still young, and there could be that one tweak that could just unlock everything for him to kind of live up to that potential. And
after he leaves the Pirates, yes, that'll be unlocked.
it could be. I mean, getting away from, it is encouraging seeing his slider usage up a little bit. That is something that you like to see. That's something we wanted with Musgrove, and you kind of see how that's unlocked in San Diego for him. So, the Pirates, while they are doing fine right now, I think it's realistic to say they're not going to be a playoff team.
It's very realistic. Yes.
8-10 right now is probably best case for them at this point in the season, and they've played good ball. You have nothing to lose by having Mitch Keller go in there and pitch over somebody like Trevor Cahill, who is a DFA candidate. So, I think you have to keep running him out there, and you just have to keep increasing his confidence if you want to go lack of analytical, and you have to keep increasing his slider usage. I think that's the big thing, and just keep repeating those arm slots.
Yeah, it seems like that's what's going to end up happening. And this is still going to be a bad team. It's going to be a bad team still. The 8-10 is incredible to this point. People are losing some money if you're betting on some Pirate games, I'd imagine. But eventually they're going to come down to earth, and we'll see what they end up as. But I would imagine 8-10 right now. They're going to be well beyond 500 when eventually we get to the All-Star break, maybe even before. Maybe we get to June. Things will come back down to earth at minimum, and certainly by the end of the season. Michael Waterloo here, Mike Asti on Pirates edition of Pittsburgh Postgame here on PSL. Pirates split with the Tigers, a 7-inning doubleheader in each of those games, winning game 1 3-2 and losing game 2 5-2. And Michael, now I want to move the lineup because it's been pretty clear they've been winning recently, and they're 8-2 thanks to the offense. No matter what lineup's been in there, the offense has provided you enough to win some of these games, and actually has won some of these games even when the starter only won 3 games. They won a game the starter went 3 1/4 innings. That does not usually happen to any team, let alone the Pirates. So the Pirates have been winning thanks in part to the offense, and Ke'Bryan Hayes still out. That still remains to be the unknown. It would have been nice, I'm sure, for this team if they could have eased him in during these series against American League teams on the road, because you have the DH slot and you wouldn't have had to make the hard decision for maybe another week of what to do with Phil Evans hitting so well and being one of their better power hitters in recent weeks and figuring he's going to stay in there. But now we're seeing in this doubleheader, and this might be maybe a little foreshadowing, with Phil Evans and Moran in particular, Phil Evans and Colin Moran switching off first base and DH and kind of giving the lineup a little bit of a different feel. What are your thoughts on how they handle the lineup in this series, in these 2 games, in this doubleheader against Detroit, especially with the mindset that they might be getting them ready for Ke'Bryan Hayes to return and take his hot corner spot and maybe 2 in the order? We've seen it switched around through these 2 games with both playing. And who do you feel should handle the bulk of the designated hitter at bats when you have that option available? Because it's been dead even to this point.
Yeah, I thought it was, encouraging seeing, Evans again go deep and just kind of perform well. And I think it was Walkie who on the broadcast said, if you hit, you're going to play. And right now, being that they're 8-10, being that they, said the offense has kind of been carrying them a little bit. Whenever Hayes went down, imagine just saying that. You know what I mean? It's not like it's the Dodgers who, when Mookie Betts goes down, it's a huge loss, but they have a loaded lineup, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, and so on. Ke'Bryan Hayes, when you look at this line at the beginning of the year, he's really the only guy you're like, I'm excited for.
And when he went down, too, because you're coming off of a year where Brian Reynolds was struggling last year. You didn't know Brian Reynolds was going to turn back the clock to 2 years ago. When Ke'Bryan Hayes went down in the opening series, I'm sure Pirate fans and the team thought this offense is going to struggle. We don't know what we're going to get, and people might not even watch these freaking games. They might have lost the casual fan. They might have been thinking.
Yeah, so hats off to them just for what they did. And you kind of heard that Ke'Bryan's getting ready to go on assignment for his rehab games on his way back. Right. So it's, I like the way that they lined up today, especially against Turnbull in that second game. I like seeing Evans over there at first base, just giving them some options, because there's that $1 million question. What do you do with him whenever Ke'Bryan gets back? Kevin Newman has not been great at shortstop, but Eric Gonzalez has been okay. He's hitting 275. You'll take that. He had a big single today to drive in that run. But I think Colin Moran, you have to keep that bat in the lineup. I'm a big Colin Moran fan. I may be the last one, the only one. Maybe it's the smile and his happy, cheery, good mood all the time. But in general, I like him. He gives you that true power threat, I guess you can say, in this lineup. So I'd love to see him just be the DH whenever you have that option, and then just have Evans over there at first base. I don't mind that play at all. And then you can just have Hayes over there at third. The real question is, hopefully there's going to be universal DH. Thank you, MLB, for holding that for a collective bargaining agreement. We appreciate that.
I'm a fan of that as well, by the way. Yeah, that's something that I liked last year, and a universal DH would make Derek Shelton's job much easier this year, of course, especially with what's going on right now, because they didn't predict Phil Evans to be hitting like he's been hitting and to be consistent, although some previous guests have kind of told me that maybe they should have, especially people that cover this team, because he's really hit anytime he's had an at-bat in Major League Baseball. I don't know why no one expected anything from the man. He's been hitting, but you look down just on the average alone, 308, 293, 308, 297, 275. And then you get to Polanco, who disrupts things there at 163. But that's a solid 1 through 5 batting average wise. I mean, that's giving you more than they were getting last year in terms of Frazier on down. Any thoughts to Evans in the DH role? Moran at first, Key Bryan returns to his position. And then I guess I've had some bring up Reynolds in left field, which is what occurred against the Tigers here in game 2. Do you like Reynolds in left field? Is that an issue for you defensively? And any thoughts to Moran maybe being the first baseman and Evans being the DH just on a defensive assignment, because there has been concern about Evans defensively long term?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I do like Evans getting the work at first. He actually looked good today. He started that 2-6 or 3-6-3 double play over there, and then he actually had a nice scoop. And I was surprised. I was like, oh, he can do a nice scoop over there, surprising out of the dirt. But yeah, I think the argument makes sense. I think it's nice to kind of give him that kind of time at the position, though, because if you talk to a lot of people coming up, they say the hardest thing about being a DH is just sitting around and hitting. And you just have to wait and wait and wait. So for a young guy, for his development, I wouldn't mind seeing him kind of play the field a little bit, just to kind of ease him into it a little bit and kind of keep his confidence up and keep him going in that direction. But overall, it is probably a smart play. Moran at first base. It's not a problem they're going to have to worry about too much this year. That's more of a future Pirates problem to worry about next year. But yeah, I have no problem with Reynolds in left field at all. I have no problem with Hayes at third base, Moran at first. And then if you want to DH Evans, you can. But yeah, you just have to keep that bat in the lineup. Whenever you're talking about he kind of hits anytime he's up, are we kind of looking at a new Matt Haig, the hit collector 2.0?
It might be. Yeah, again, Phil Evans, kind of surprising, but he has been hitting. And I also was really happy to see him crank a homer in game 2 of this doubleheader for this purpose. He had been hitting. He actually had an average of 326 a week ago. But for any naysayers out there, he was giving you ammunition because he didn't hit for 3 straight games. He had 1 hit in a whole weekend. I was a little concerned that Evans was going to play himself out of the lineup because his argument is all about offensively. So he finally cranked one again, which will solidify himself in there. But he moved his average from 326 all the way to 275 in about 4 days. That was concerning, but he's picked it up again. And it also provides, now there's consistency from him. There's consistent at-bats. One guy I have to ask, though, and this is about tweaking a lineup, and the money figure probably is part of this answer, whether we like it or not. But Gregor Polanco now hitting 163. He goes 0 for 3 in game 2 of this doubleheader. A couple more swings and misses and strikeouts. He had made contact a little bit for a few games. You mentioned the gaffe there defensively, which I think goes under the radar. People talk about how much he has not been able to hit for a year and a half. He also has become a liability defensively, which was not originally the case. What do you do with Polanco? Would you give any thoughts to him being the odd man out here because he has performed the worst? Granted, he's paid the most and they want to get value for him at the deadline. So can you kind of parse that together and warrant him in the lineup continuously? Or would you eventually have to make the hard decision of, I don't care, he doesn't deserve it as much? Granted, this team 8-10 as we're speaking, but you would imagine that record is going to be a lot worse eventually, where that record won't matter to your decision.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to get for Gregory Polanco? We've been down this road before. Right. He did smoke a ball 116 miles per hour tonight. He laced that into right field. And
he's been making more contact recently. Absolutely.
He is, but Gregory Polanco is not going to be the reason that you're going to win a game. He's going to hurt you more than he helps you. And I think he's shown you that. The Gregory Polanco, the El Cafe that we were all excited about, the no, we can't trade for Giancarlo Stanton because we have Gregory Polanco. Right. Those days are done. Even if you're able to flip him, we've seen the return on players be less and less as teams realize, hey, if we're going to trade for something for value, we're going to trade for relievers. We're going to trade for lights out bullpen arms. We're not going to trade for fringe below replacement level right fielders who may be able to make contact. And whenever he does make contact, he hits the ball hard. But it's all about the when is he going to make the contact. So I'm totally fine with making him the odd man out. If you have that lineup squeeze, then that's fine. He becomes a platoon pat. He becomes a fourth outfielder. I'm not going to not have a Phil Evans start or have, however you have to configure the defensive alignment. I'm not going to make it around Gregory Polanco. He's not going to be the person preventing somebody. Like if
certainly not sitting Brian Reynolds. I mean, you certainly can't sit Brian Reynolds. That's why you got to throw him to the outfield.
Yeah. You have to. He's not somebody I'm too worried about. I don't know what a realistic return is for him at this point in his career. He's not the youngest guy anymore. He's going to be 30 soon. And we know that kind of the peak for a career is 27. By 27, we know who a player is. We know who Gregory Polanco is. He's somebody that we hold near and dear in our heart, but he's just the guy. He's a jag, as we call them. So
yeah, now he is. And people probably forget anything they were holding in their heart because it's been a while since Polanco was that guy. And every now and then when you think you see a flash of something from Polanco, he'll follow it up with just atrocity, whether it be at the plate or in the field. And unfortunately for him, he picks really bad times. People forget, actually, he was so bad at the beginning of last season. He picked it up towards the end of last year, but nobody cared because they were well out of the race. People are talking about a pandemic. It just wasn't a concern, but Polanco was out there swinging the bat. It just ended up being irrelevant now in the perception. He has made contact. He is getting the bat on the ball. But even as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, we've almost managed to make the bar so low for Polanco. It's like we're dumbing ourselves down to try to help this guy out where he's getting the bat on the ball. I feel like this is what I would tell a little league player. Yeah, he's getting the bat on the ball. He's not flailing around. I mean, I could swing and miss every at bat out there. That the bar should be higher. He got to be healthy now. It's been years since the injury. Yes, he's 30, but there got to be more. I don't know what the value would be. It does appear to me, I would assume, that they're going to still try to trot him out there because of the money and because they do want to try to get some semblance of something for him. I can't imagine they're going to want to throw the white flag and just say, we can't get anything for him, so whatever you give me is fine, and we're just going to dump Polanco. But in terms of the best effort on the field, he probably is not part of it. Maybe there's an argument that Derek Shelton's job has become more difficult by this team winning. Because there probably was a thought process before the year, this season's not going to be a contending year. Make these kids better. We need a maturation process. We're going to try to get some value for some of these veterans, and then it's onward and upward. But Derek Shelton, who no one heard of a year ago, has done solid work to this point. And I discussed this on past shows. I'm not even sure if you can criticize him because of the product that he was offered this year. But now, 8-10, we're a few weeks in. I'm not saying they're going to keep it up, but it does create those decisions that probably wouldn't have been there before.
Yeah, it certainly does. And, whenever they were kind of doing their fire sale in the offseason, the fact that Polanco didn't go anywhere kind of tells me a lot too, that there weren't teams kind of inquiring about him. But
because they were able to trade Josh Bell. They were able to move on from Bell. They did make a few other moves. You actually could argue Cherington won a few of those deals. That's not common for Pirate executive. But yeah, Polanco's still around.
He is, but they just DFA'd Anthony Alford, and they have Dustin Fowler, the former top prospect with the Yankees, and went to the A's, messed up his knee bad. But, he's hitting even worse than Polanco is right now. So how much of a decision is it right now whenever you have somebody even worse than Polanco out there in the outfield and you're trying your second guy? They might bring Jared Oliva up and see what he has, but I think he'd be more likely to take time away from Fowler in center than he would be Polanco right now. But, if they need to kind of convert somebody to right field, I don't think you're going to miss Polanco. His max exit velocity, 80th percentile, and his barrel rates, 81st percentile too. So like we said, when he does make contact, he hits the ball hard, but even his expecting batted average right now is at 209. So it's not like he's just been super unlucky.
And the Pirates are slated to throw Mitch Keller out there tomorrow. So we are going to experience Mitch Keller bumping from one start. You will see him the next. Mitch Keller will wrap up this series with the Tigers tomorrow afternoon, actually, as now the Pirates have the unthinkable opportunity to win another series, which just I can't even believe it's coming out of my mouth right now. Michael Waterloo, Mike Asti here as we're wrapping up this Pirates edition of Pittsburgh Postgame on PSL. Who knows what's going to happen with this lineup? Yeah, Fowler hitting 171, Polanco hitting 163. So they're both about the same there batting average-wise. Contact, I guess, is made. The Pirates do have the Twins coming up, and then the Royals and Cardinals following this series with Detroit. Any thoughts on what to expect out of the series against the Twins? I don't know how much Twins baseball you've been able to see, but that's certainly a team that provides some winnable games, you would imagine, and that's once again a series that offers the designated hitter for the Pirates. So it will be interesting now, since it's been a dead heat to this point, who does get the bulk of the designated hitter at bat between Moran, between Phil Evans, somebody else, certainly depending on what's going on with Key Brian Hayes.
Yeah, well, to talk about tomorrow's game real quick, they're facing Jose Urena, who is really bad. He's one of the worst pitchers in baseball. If you're into the whole batter versus pitcher type thing, or if you're into how somebody has done against a team of their life, Urena owns an 8+ ERA against the Pirates whenever he's with the Marlins, and he's not gotten much better since he's went to.
Do you have the season stats to this point this year in front of you?
Yes, I do actually.
Yeah, 0-3, 5.52.
Yep. 0-3. 0-3, 5.52. Just not that good. So I kind of like the Pirates' chances tomorrow, honestly, to kind of win the series, maybe give a boost of confidence there for Keller as they head into the weekend against the Twins. The Twins are tough. Like the Tigers, though, I don't really trust their bullpen all that much. That's kind of how you attack them. I don't actually have the Twins rotation, projected rotation out, and I think that is really going to be – that's really going to say a lot. They're going to avoid Kenta Maeda, who went today, but if they get Jose Barrios, that's going to be a tall order. So, even if they can take – if they can take 2 out of 3 this weekend, that's a huge win for them. This Twins lineup is very, very, very tough. So I actually like that Keller gets the Tigers still, and we don't have to really worry about him going against the Twins, because I think they're just going to have the time of their life going against Trevor Cahill and company. So
and the Twins are 6-11 as we speak, but they do have the offense. They just don't usually have the pitching. JD Brubaker versus J.A. Happ is right now the slated battery mates there on Friday. So we will see. JT Brubaker obviously has been a stud for the Pirates to this point, Happ a familiar face. So we will see what occurs in that game as that starts off the series against the Twins. Mitch Keller tomorrow afternoon to try to redeem himself from previous starts. And maybe this is his opportunity to finally gain some confidence, or at the very least, because of the pitcher they're facing, if you get the same Mitch Keller you've been seeing this year, that doesn't have to mean you lose the game. Maybe they could play out of it. Maybe they could have their offense pick it up. Maybe they could come back in that game, because maybe the opposing pitcher's getting beat up even more than Mitch Keller is, even if Mitch Keller is not having the greatest start in the world. So if Mitch Keller can still only give you 3 innings, maybe you can get to the opposing pitcher as well in that time and make it bullpen versus bullpen. And honestly, the Pirates bullpen has not been all that bad in comparison to others, especially when you take into consideration some of them are really long relievers based on how long they pitch and when they come into these games. So we will see. The Pirates right now 8-10. They split this doubleheader with the Tigers, winning game 1 3-2, thanks to Tyler Anderson, and losing game 2 of these two 5-2. Michael, I definitely appreciate the time for sure. We'll definitely have you back on one of these again here if the time can work out. We'll definitely love to have you back on one of these post-game shows. Enjoy the Mitch Keller starts if you can. Enjoy this Twin series if you can. Enjoy seeing Happ. Enjoy JD Brubaker. I think everybody in baseball enjoys him to this point. And I also will leave you. I believe is that MLB The Show behind you? I will leave you to go enjoy yourself and partake as you close your evening. So I definitely appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it. And we'll see how I do on the show tonight. Hopefully better than Mitch Keller has done for his career. So
okay. Yeah, couldn't get much worse. So we'll see if you can swing a few. We'll also see maybe if you can get Polanco to get one out of the park and have some more contact over there in your video game based on what we're seeing on the actual field. That's Michael Waterloo. I'm Mike Asti here. And of course, Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like what you see and hear. Thanks to our sponsors. It is free to do so for all of us throughout the Now family of networks and Pittsburgh Sports Live. The Pirates split this doubleheader. They're now 8-10. It could be much worse, but we'll see how much better it gets from here on out. All right. Thanks, man.
No problem. Appreciate